Okay, we got some people on. Look what's on too. North American Whitetail. Look what they're talking about. That's a scene right out of our puppy DVD, or our training DVD. So, right now on North American Whitetail, they actually have a segment going that we did for them for developing your deer dog, and it's talking about place training. So, and I didn't time that on purpose. That just is a coincidence that that's on right now. But we're back to do some work with Spry tonight. So I thought about this. A couple things. I set this up differently. I've got my camera set different so that I can film down the hallway. We've got Red in her room. Don't go in today. I'm not here. Someone's here. She's reading her book, so we're going to close the door so she knows that not to come out. But Kaylee's in. Hello. Alan Harmon joined. Mike Schulte, Brian Quigley, Nicole, Robbie Schmidt. Welcome, everybody. So now I'm going to have to figure out. So I've turned my camera, so it's new to me. I'm gonna have to figure out how to hold this the right way. But I did this so that we could see all the way down the hallway a little bit better on the tripod tonight. I'm going to be doing this by myself, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We can talk about some of the stuff I did. If you caught it earlier, we went outside with Ellie. We did some work outside. We've got Spry all set up. Hasn't gone outside yet. I think it's important to show that. So we're going to take her outside. I'm going to show the value in getting her in. It's a lot easier right now. It's a lot easier for me to do that before we feed her, because she understands she anticipates that we're going to eat. So I'm just going to reach in and grab a little bit of her food, just in case I need it. Not a treat trainer, but I want to have her understand that when it's time to eat or when she's hungry, I'll use it as motivation. So let's pick her up. We've got plenty of people joined in right now. Welcome, everybody. Bunch of people in. Jim Heth. Robin's in. Jeremy Miner's in. Jeff Trudell. Hello, everybody. Do me a favor, guys, if you would. Go ahead and share this for me. That's how we get the best numbers. This is a good time, I think. 7:30 has been a good time in the past. We're going to see how this goes. So the same routine. I'm going to take the pup outside. You can see she gets pretty excited when she comes out. She squirms around a lot. I don't let her out. There's some likes and hearts, and we got reception, which is nice. We really struggled with reception earlier today. So as soon as she settles down, I'll let her down. Okay? That's not a bad change right there. So I let her go to the bathroom. I'm going to let her I'll turn this way so you guys can see. I'm going to let her do her business. Let her go to her bathroom. This is the routine. This is the consistency. We do this stuff all day long. She's been let out this way probably 6-7 times today. And she comes out. I tell her usually, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. There. And she goes. She ran around a little bit, and I'm over here going, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, and boom, she goes. So I'm going to show you her, okay? Can you see that? Can you see her? Come here, come on. So I'm actually going to lead her away from the house with an attempt. Like, now she wants to take off, run down to the pond. I'm going to see if she's going to go, how far out she goes. She's getting, I don't know how easy that is to see. She's getting pretty bold. It's really hard to see. Come on, let's go. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on, little Spry, let's go. You're going to hear me get real excited to get her attention. She might have to go to the bathroom yet. It's really hard for you guys to see this. Come on, little girl. So I'm going to go towards her just to get her attention. Stick with me here in the dark, guys. Come on. Oh, she's going to the bathroom. Good girl. Very good. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Now you hear my excitement. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Now I'm almost racing her back. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on. She veers off. Come on, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's it, good girl. Come on. When she starts coming, guys, I turn and run away. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, 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 come on. Good girl. Very good. Hear how much excitement that was? I mean, I'm really giving her more praise for this. I'm giving her more praise for this than I've given her praise for anything in the last couple weeks, I guess, week and a half. I'm gonna take her back, and I'm just gonna race her back to the house. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Look how quickly she's getting in a habit. So we do that a couple times. I try to do it as much as possible. She's nowhere near as willing to do that when it's not feeding time. She knows it's time to eat. So she's real cooperative. So from that, I'm going to transition. Now, this morning we talked about, I had 7 things I wanted to work on. I had a whole bunch of stuff. And I came in, and it was a lot of new stuff that we hadn't done before. It was a new area for you, some of you guys that are new. I normally feed her right here in my kitchen. We normally do our recall work and our sit work right here in our laundry room. That's normally where we've been doing it for the last week and a half. She got excellent at it. So then yesterday, I took her to my shop. I tried to replicate the behavior in a new location, and she struggled greatly. So I'm going to try to get where the lights aren't so bright. So what I want to do is I have to get the behavior replicated regardless of the actual spot. So she's real place oriented. She feels comfortable in certain spots. So I have to get her to perform habitually everywhere we go. She's real calm in my arms right now. She's anticipating there's probably some food coming. Every time, in order to get fed, I really got to settle down. Here's what I'm going to do. This morning, I mixed it up. And this morning, I did a lot of stuff, and I did it in this hallway. And the reason I did it in the hallway was because I was prepping to get some retrieves in. And this morning, we were trying to get there, and we had such a cluster, I did not get any retrieves in. We got out of it. It was really, I think it was beneficial to see. There was a lot of ups and downs, but we didn't get as much done as I thought we should or would. So this time, there's where I'm retrieving, there's where I'm feeding. I'm going to do it in the same spot. I'm going to do it right here in the hallway. And the reason I'm doing it in the hallway is because I'm going to get very, very good straight down, straight back. There's not a lot of distractions here. There's not a lot for her to get excited about and run around. There's nowhere for her to go. So I got all the doors closed. I'm going to pick up now. It's going to be one-handed. So bear with me on this, guys, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. I built the wall, okay? Here's the wall. I took a bed. I slid it across. So this is it. We've got a closed-door hallway. You coming out or are you staying in? She's just peeking, so I got a spectator. Okay, I'm going to set the pup down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this sit part. I'm going to skip the recall part tonight. I'm going to go just try to get these retrieves. Now, I'm going to adjust my little stand here, so bear with me, because I'm going to give you guys... Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit talking to the camera once I start this. My process is going to be, my goal is to get this little puppy to make her first retrieves tonight positively. I want her to run down, pick it up, bring it back, run down, pick it up, bring it back. I'm going to tell you, we'll talk the details of it after. But first I'm just going to try to get her to run down, pick this up, bring it back. I'm going to try to get a couple repetitions out of it. I'm not asking for a lot. But I want to get some solid little retrieves just to bring out what she does naturally. I am not training her to retrieve. I'm bringing it out. That's all. So I'm going to tip this so you guys can see it. Then I'm not going to talk with you much. I'm going to have it set up so I hope you can see and watch. Okay? So, what's that? What's that? What is that? What is that? What is that? Come on, 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 come on. Good girl. Very good. Keep that door closed. Close that door. Good girl. Now, first try. You guys witnessed it. It's the first time I've ever truly done it on a live video. I've filmed it and showed it. What's that? What's that? Good girl. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Good girl. Very good. not in a hurry to take it away from her. Good girl. I gotta pull it out of those teeth. Here. What's it? Good girl. Good girl. Come on, 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 come on. Good girl. Very good. Very good. Very good. Shh. Come here, come on, come on. Come on. Good. Now she comes. Spry. Good girl. Come on, 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 that's it, come on, no, 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 come on, that's it, very good, very good, very good. I'm out of there. That was beautiful. It was fantastic. I want to see like 10,000 hearts, and well, I'll settle for 50. If there's 50 of you watching, 50 hearts, because that was complete success with the risk of problems. The very last one. Did you see how I pushed that? Okay. I don't know how many did we do there. There's the explosion of emotion. Thank you, you guys. So I don't know how many we did there. I'm going to say, I get so caught up in it. 5 maybe? 4 or 5? I probably should have stopped at 4. If I did 5, I should have stopped at 4. I can tell you that right now. But what is my tendency? You guys are figuring out my tendencies too. I get going and I get momentum and I want a little bit more. I want to get just a little bit more. I want to get a little bit more. And I recognized that about 3 days ago with my sits, with her, getting her to sit. I recognized that I go too long. I push it too far. And when I push it too far, I get into trouble. And then I have to figure out how to bail out of a bad situation and end with a win. Exact same thing just happened. However many retrieves we did, I should have stopped one before I did. Because the last one I did was good. And I thought, I bet you I can get one more. And the last one, what did she do? She laid down on me over there. And she paused and hesitated and kind of wanted to... That's a direct symbol of her focus and her attention span. It's really short. So get 2 or 3 repetitions that are good and get the hell out of there, because end it beautifully. Now what I've got in her head is, well, maybe I could lay down a little bit and chew on this when things get boring. I'm not so excited about running back to him. The other thing I really liked about it was the last time before, I think it was before the last one that I did, I'd have to look back. She ran around and she went down to the end of the hallway and she kind of hung out there for a little bit. And I had to get very excited. I had to do a lot of stuff just to get her to recall and come back to me. That's the recall work. That tells me you got to work on your recall. Well, what have we been working on for the last 5 days? Working on a little bit of recall to sit. So I get done with that. I'm going to get a little bit greedy here because it's just my nature. I want a little more out of him. I want a little more out of him. I got to figure out how not to go too far. But now what I'm going to do, I've got this little bit of kibble in my pocket. I'm going to back up. I'm going to tip this so you guys can see. She knows that food's in my pocket, in my hand. So I'm going to get 2 or 3 sits. That's it. So I'm going to set her back down. Come here. This is almost a little recall. Sit. No. Good. Now I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna give her praise on this one. Come here. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. She doesn't get anything back there. Come on. Come on. Here, come on, come on, come on. Sit. Good. Good. There's the praise. Very good. Okay, come on. Come on. I'll lead her around me. I want to call her back to me. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Sit. Sit. Good girl. Very good. You can't quite see it, but that was nice. Sit. Come here. Sit. Good. No, not wiggling. I'm not going to reward that scooting of the butt. Come here. Come here. Come on, they can see you. Sit. 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 Good. I don't know if you guys could see that one. She might have been out of frame. One more. See? What did I say? 2 or 3 and I'm on 4. So I'm pushing it, but that's just how I am. Come on. Sit. Sit. Good. Very good. Very good. I want to end it on praise. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Attention span's fading. I can tell already. No, no, no. There we go. There we go. Way to go, Jared. Push it too far again. Come here. Sit. Very good. Very good. That's it. Get out of it. Okay? Super fast lessons tonight. I think part of my problem before, so I'm coming out of the tunnel here. I think part of my, actually, you know what? I'm staying in the tunnel. I'm going to have you guys watch this too. So I'm going to do this all in the same spot. Let's see if I can tip this. You guys let me know if this is working all right too, as far as the camera stuff, because this will be how I have to do it kind of on my own. But tip this down. I'm reaching right over here. Look how much more prepared I am today. I got stuff in the right spots. So I'm taking the bowl of food. That's where we fed her this morning. This is the second time. So what do I say? 5 times in a row, 5 different locations. Well, this is time number 2, repetition number 2, location number 2. This morning she struggled the first time. Then I put her in between it was outside of me. Then I moved her in between my legs, she did really well. Then I moved her outside my legs and she did excellent. So I'm going to start outside my legs and see where we're at. Real quick sit. Beautiful. Spry. Excellent. Very good. That one was really nice. Boy, she put her butt down with, like she meant it. That was good. I like that one. So let me let her she'll get a little to eat. I'm going to reset it. A much shorter lesson here, much more focused, and I'm giving it, I'm not scoring it yet, but I'll tell you right now we're on track for a much higher score than we were this morning. Good. Good. And that was excellent. I want to time it with my sit. So I want to get this command. I want to start working the command into this. So I don't want her just sitting. It's fine if she just sits out of habit. You can't see her, but she's extremely calm in my arms. I love it. Sit. Sit. Good. Boy, great eyes. I don't know if you could see that, but excellent eyes with her. She focused on me. Like, focused on me, looked away. Focused on me, looked away. It's a question that someone asked. I'm going to address it as I go back and look at some of these questions from the outside that we did. Someone asked about the eyes, because I talk about eyes when we're in heel work. I want their eyes. When you have their eyes, you know you got something going. They're connected with you. If you watched at the very end, when Red was healing Ellie back, she didn't have her eyes. She didn't have her eyes. They didn't connect. Their heel work was really ugly. So we could, if we had enough light, daylight, we'd have had that heel work going before we came back in. I'm going to reset this one more time. Then I'm going to let her clean it up. So I want to go 3 for 3 here. Sit. Good. Good. Spry. Good girl. Now, if you watched us with Ellie outside, see the connection to how I line the dog for the food right now? It transfers to the field when I line a dog for a bumper. So we're setting the groundwork. We're building the foundation right now for later down the road in the field. So I'm going to let her eat. That was excellent. So on a scale of 1 to 10 overall tonight, I've got her at a solid 9. Probably could have done a few things better, but not much. I thought it was pretty good. Now I'm going to get things ready. On a scale of 1 to 10, how was my preparation for tonight? I'm going to say it was a 9 too. Much better than it was this morning. This morning was a gong show. It was a cluster. There was all sorts of stuff going on that was just borderline, I'll put it this way so you can see her. It was borderline disaster. It wasn't that bad, but it didn't go very well. So, but with a little bit of preparation tonight and actually seeing how it went this morning, I made some adjustments in how I prepared. I've got a camera on a tripod. It's tipped the right way. I figured out before we started how to tip the tripod down so that I'd be able to get the angle that I was looking for. So all that stuff was taken into consideration. I'm going to pull the camera. I'm going to pull the camera off here without trying to bump it here. So now I'm going to put it on her as she finishes up here. And this is a little addition. We haven't done this before. I'm just going to let her come with me. Come on. Come on. She's going to stop and give it a visit to Ellie. She tries to put herself on place. That's fine. I will not call her off of that. Okay? She's on there. I'm not calling her off. No way. So how do I get them off? Come over here. Hi, Ellie. Let me get rid of this one for you. I pick her up off of it. I bring her back to her spot, and I could start moving this place around. Maybe I'll move it over here tonight. See this fussing that's going on? I'm not setting her down until she settles. She's got the hiccups. That's a great change. She's got the hiccups, but she's settled a lot. Now I'll set her down. Now, I'm going to reset this. I'm going to get a drink of water. Then I'm going to open up my computer. And I'll start looking at some of the questions. Tonight was a lot different, I would say, than it had been. And the reason was we didn't dawdle. We got right to it. I keep bumping the wrong button. Let me turn it around. Let me see if this is the right way now. So I'm gonna set her on her place, and now you guys know the routine. We just watch her settle in. Looks like I got the camera tipped the right way, so we'll just let her settle down. Now, one thing I did differently was I didn't pay hardly any attention to questions and stuff. Part of that was because I didn't have my computer in front of me. The other reason was I turned the camera and apparently it doesn't pop up as people add in. It doesn't pop up, so that's why I wasn't saying welcome to a lot of you guys. The numbers were good, which is awesome. Appreciate that. So here I'm going to start scrolling through some of the questions. Let's see. Jeff is in. Hello to me and Spry. Hey, Mr. Moore. How you doing, Jeremy Miner? I'm in, and Berkeley's on place while I learn now. Robin sent me a picture earlier. I'm going to be sharing it. Actually, I'm going to ask Robin if she would share it to our page so that I can share it. But she sent it to me. I think, Robin, didn't you send me a picture in a private message? Gotten about 4 or 5 of them today. And people are doing plays. I got another video. I got a video in from, who was it that sent me one? Somebody sent me one of their pup feeding and doing really well. And so I'll talk about that real quick, because this is what I love, is when you guys are sending me your dogs, because I think I can help. I think, I think 2 things. I think it helps me to realize that we're making progress and other people are taking part, not just watching. I think having a plan is part of it. The hard part is executing that plan. So we can think about it all we want, but if we don't actually do it, it won't happen. So Kaylee Thompson Mills sent me a video of her pup steadying up at feeding time, and you guys, I'd like to share that too. So maybe Kaylee, maybe you could put it on her. I don't know if I can share it off of when you guys message it to me. But if you maybe could send that, if you wouldn't mind sending that to our page as a visitor post, then what I'd like to do is share it. And what I'd like to, so when Kaylee sent me this video, I made a couple comments to her. Her dog is extremely calm, really relaxed. And the one thing I said to her was, I think you've got such a calm dog. I want to put a little more life into it. I get it a little more excited. And the easy way to do that is your tone of voice. Kaylee's really monotone with it. She's really flat. And she sends the dog, and the dog sits there for a minute, thinks about it, and slowly goes to the bowl of food. Now, am I complaining? No. I like that. I'd rather have that than a dog that can't sit still. But I think you can put a little life into it. I think you can get it a little more excited, because at some point in your training, you're going to need that excitement. You're going to need to get them to overcome some of the flatness. Let me, so that's awesome. So the whole point of what I'm saying there is it's great to have these. I got to turn the TV off here. Okay. So, just saw us on TV, Brian. I was just saying that right when we started, we were actually just coming on North American Whitetail. Brian Pikarowski. Haven't seen Brian in a while. Welcome, Brian. Greg Wisnat, Illinois, not Chicago. I'm a Bears fan, Greg, so don't worry about that. Bears fans that grow up in Green Bay have thick skin. April Marie, she's adorable. Thank you, April. She's not bad. She's a good-looking dog. She behaves well. She's coming along, but she's got a long ways to go. So, hey, Trevor, Brooks in, Mike Mecca's in, Nathan's in, Tony's in. Tony Rosso, haven't seen you for a while. Welcome aboard, brother. Hall camera angle looks good. Thank you, Jeff. So that was one of the things that I tested today to see if we could get. I'm just trying to get it so that I think sometimes it's hard, and I'm super distracted with trying to do the camera and the dog. And I think the connection with me and the dog is really poor when I'm trying to handle a camera or a phone. So the retrieving I thought went well tonight, and I think part of it had to do with there's no chance I can do that if I'm trying to do a phone. So the tripod deal, it might be very static as far as movement, but at the same time, it's going to allow you guys hopefully to see me and her interacting. Adam Finley is, boy, what a move, Adam Finley. You're looking to change people's lives. All right. The camera and your work with Spry is going great. Thank you, Kaylee. There's Kaylee. So Kaylee is sharing the same success at home. Trevor Barrett, that was awesome. Spry's doing much better this time in the hallway. Totally better, Renee. So for those who haven't watched this before, I really think I'm glad you're here, and I welcome you. I think it will make way more sense if you're capable and able to go back and watch. That's the beauty of Facebook, is they're not deleted, so you'll be able to go back and look at some of the old videos. This dog has made a lot of changes in the last 2.5 weeks. She's going to be 10 weeks on Friday. So we've gone a long way. We have a lot longer way to go. So she did much better in the hallway today, which was just her second time in the hallway. This morning was the first time. Yesterday was at the shop. So really in 3 days, well, I guess 2 days, 3 days, if you count. 3 days ago, we were in her old routine. Yesterday we went to the shop and she struggled. Today we moved it to the hallway. She did a little better, but she still struggled at points. Tonight she did better, second time. So place orientation is real important to these guys. They function habitually in certain spots. So can you give us both a 10? Come on, Trevor. You can never have 10s or you'll never be able to improve. Justin Schmidt's in. Welcome, Justin. Justin's been in a couple times here in the last week. April Marie, puppy hiccups are the cutest. So we're getting towards the end here. Yes, I suppose they are. She did great. Great work tonight. Great work tonight. Do you use a treat on your retrieve? Absolutely not, Luke. So we should talk about the retrieves. Good question. Reason I don't treat train retrieves is retrieves come very natural to dogs, and that is the treat. That's the reward. Is get the idea that you have the idea of being able to get the reward. I think if you use treats with retrieving, you're watering down the retrieve, and then what you're doing is fundamentally, physically, you're promoting a dog dropping something out of its mouth because it can't take the treat with something in its mouth. So what dogs do is they start to anticipate that, and they'll drop it short. They'll drop it real quick. They won't hold on to it. One thing, if you guys notice, first time she ever retrieved was tonight. One of the things that I did was I did not require her to be steady. I got her kind of excited. I tapped into her natural predator-prey. She ran down, picked it up. Why did I use a balled-up sock? The reason I used a balled-up sock is because if you saw, every time I had to take it out of her mouth, I literally had to like kind of open her mouth and slide that sock off of her sharp teeth. Why do I want that? Because in the end, I'm always looking at the end and trying to figure out how to get to the end with the right habits. In the end, I hold conditioned dogs to deliver to hand and hold. That's very, very desirable. You have to have that. It eliminates a lot of issues later. So if I start out, hold conditioning can be a real pain in the ass. It can be long, it can be frustrating, it's boring. So there's all sorts of reasons why hold sucks. There's all sorts of reasons why you need hold. Have to have it. There's no getting around it. But if we start out early like we did tonight, and I'm going to do every single time I retrieve with this dog, I'm going to share the bumper with them. I'm going to share that balled up sock. I'm going to share the antler dummy. I'm going to share it with them. I'm not quick to grab it out of her mouth. Watch back on that video. I never pull it out of her mouth. I never reach for it to snag it and snatch it away from her. It is not going to turn into a game of keep away. It's going to turn into a game of bring it over to him, and he'll just pet me and love me and tell me how good I am and share it with me. Eventually, I have to take it out of her mouth. Well, why the balled up sock is nice is because, quite honestly, if she wanted to get it out of her mouth, I don't know that she could have that easily, because her teeth get hooked into that balled up sock, and she can't spit it out very easily. So what I'm doing is using the right tool to help me form a good habit. She's dozing right off on us. So this is a nice quick settle down for her. Probably one of the best settling down after feeding on place that we've seen. So that's great. That tells me progress. But back to that retrieving, 3 or 4 retrieves. 2 or 3 is what I should have done. 4 or 5 is what I did. I went one too many. So that tells me another thing. Their attention span is extremely short. When I do sit drills with her, when I do recalls drills with her, I usually have a tendency to go a little long, right? So I gotta get a drink quick. So I have a tendency to go too long, and when I go too long, the end of our training fades. Well, today when I went too long and I went one extra retrieve too long, she decided, I'm kind of tired of this whole thing about running back to dad with this. He's all excited. I've seen it. It's not that great when I get to him. So she decided to change it, and she laid down. And she laid down and kind of mouthed the sock a little bit. Well, what did I do? Crawled out to her, and I got even more excited. I had to get to another level. I maybe got too excited in the first place because I didn't leave any room to get more excited. In case I got into trouble, which I did, I wish I had another level of excitement to try to pull her out of that and bring her to me. I didn't, so I'll learn from that. I'll probably go a little less excitement to start out with, so I leave some room to amp up. But I went too long, and her attention span faded, and we almost got into a bind there at the very end. But we salvaged it, and we got out. So someone asked me a question. The question about, this has come up now a lot, about toys and chew toys and letting shed dogs just play with antlers and chew on them. Absolutely not. Worst thing you can do. Absolute worst thing you can do. If you don't want your dogs to chew, don't give them chew toys. If you want dogs to chew on stuff, give them all the chew toys you want. Give them everything. If you want to form a habit now that you're going to have to train out later, give them chew toys. Now, I strongly advise not to. I'm saying that with a lot of sarcasm. So don't give these dogs stuff to chew on. Don't give these dogs stuff to play with. They're not kids. They don't need an iPad. These little dogs like this. They like praise. They don't need toys to occupy their time. So, but one of the questions was, about, my plan is to, this was how it started, was that my plan is to give a lot of chew toys to the dog. I said, no, absolutely not. You're going to create way bigger chewing problems by doing that. So then the reply back, we bounced emails back, and one of the replies back, and this guy is going to, I guarantee you, he's going to train a nice dog. Because he's got a lot of questions. He's really interested in how to figure this thing out. But he's confused by a lot of things, and I think it's probably because he's read a lot of articles. He's probably seen a lot of things out there online. He's probably seen a lot. Now, there's a million ways to train dogs. Don't think my way is the only way. It's not. It's not my way. I've picked it up from 10,000 other trainers. I've been influenced by a million trainers. I didn't reinvent dog training. I've found a lot of parts and pieces that other people do and figured out what works best for me. That's all. So, but here I can tell you this. You will form some really bad habits, hard to train out, if you, in early retrieving, do a couple of these, I'm going to call them pretty critical errors. So one of the things is the chew toys. One of the things is letting him play with stuff. The other thing was, he said, you know, and maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was someone else that asked me, said, my pup it has a pretty nice little natural retrieve. We've used the balled up sock and we've used your training dummy. They must have the DVD, because that's what we do in the DVD. But so then they said, but my dog really likes to retrieve stuff, and he's picking up sticks all the time, carrying them around. He's picking up all sorts of stuff. I'm assuming I know what to do, but I just wanted to ask you the question. It was something like that, not verbatim, but that's about how the question went. And he said, my assumption is you're going to tell me, correct that, and, you know, scold them for it, correct them for it, take it away, and you know, grab it away from them. 100% the opposite. And this is going to sound strange, but when these little puppies pick stuff up, if they pick up your slippers, if they pick up a stick, if they pick up garbage, if they pick up a sock, if they pick up anything, because if they do, first off, I love it, because it tells me that my dog has some natural retrieve, likes to have stuff in his mouth. When they're little like that, they know no different between your canvas bumpers and your socks or your slippers. They have no idea what the difference is between any of that stuff. The stick, they don't know if it's a stick or if it's a spike antler. So the last thing I want to do is correct a dog negatively when they have something in their mouth. Don't do it. Young dog, no way. When they get older and they know how to retrieve and they got some foundation, we can start to correct certain items and have them, teach them a command that we call leave it. We can get them to leave it, but not with these little puppies. Your little puppies pick stuff up, you get down on your knees, you call them to you, and you praise them like they just found a 90-inch shed. You give them all the praise in the world. Then you take that stick and you keep it away from them. Don't give it back to them. Then you take those socks and you put them away. Then you put your slippers in the closet where they can't get at it. The other thing about it is my dogs don't get at stuff, because where are my dogs? You guys have watched this long enough. My dogs do not free run around the house and get into trouble. When your dogs do that, and they do that, they're not going to get in any trouble. So my dogs don't free roam the house. This little puppy, if I let her, she'd be in all sorts of stuff. She'd be having accidents in places. She'd be chewing on stuff. She'd be picking stuff up. There's enough stuff around here that she'd get in trouble. So 2 answers. Pick your stuff up so the dogs can't get at it. That's number 1. Second thing is control where your pups are allowed to go, and you won't ever worry about any of that stuff. So I get kind of excited about that part, because, man, it's a hard fix, and it's so frustrating for people that are so excited about retrievers, and then they run into issues with these that could have been avoided so easily, because it's so heartbreaking to hear someone who has a dog that is probably a really hell of a retriever, and they've just been so screwed up when they were little pups that they go, oh, he must not be very good. No, it's not that. It's you've really programmed them to make some major mistakes. So that's a little bit on retrieving stuff. Does making her settle before you put her down make her calm in general, or pretty much just when you're holding her? Eventually it's going to be in general, Austin. We are trying to start a culture in our house. The culture is calm, quiet, very, very nice disposition. We like a Wild Rose calls it a gentleman's gun dog. That's what we like. So I don't care if they're gun dogs or not. I want a gentleman's dog. I want a lady's dog that will be able to go to school with you, work with you, the soccer game, all of that stuff. I want a dog that's calm enough and capable of doing all that stuff. So it all starts with this little drill that we've been doing when we're feeding her. So that's our initial attempt at steadiness for her. Now she's pretty antsy. She was sleeping. I'm going to keep an eye on her, because she fell asleep very quickly after we fed her. We just fed her. She had a drink because that food is soaked in water. So she's got her water and her food for tonight. She laid down and fell asleep. If she doesn't settle down quickly, I'm going to take her outside. This might be her signal to me. You know what, Dad? I got to go to the bathroom. So let's do this. We haven't done this yet. She settled down so quickly that she fell asleep. Well, Sierra came out to get a snack. So bear with me while I get this going. Sierra came out to get a snack, and little pup woke up. Well, I got news for you. Whenever your pup's sleeping, as soon as it wakes up, it's gonna have to go to the bathroom. Now, she does her number 2 a lot later, so I don't expect her to go do that. She might though, But I'm going to let her go to her spot, which is we get them away from the house. Whoops, let me get my hand out of the way. Come on, hurry up, hurry up. So I go over and I hurry her up. Come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. That's her command to go to the bathroom. I think you can teach these dogs to go to the bathroom quickly. I think you can teach them to eat quickly. If you're consistent, I go outside and I give her the same little, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, come on, hurry up, good girl, good girl. She gets excited, she's gonna run off, and I'm waiting for her to do her business, and then I'm gonna get her back into the house. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And you know what, if she's gonna go eventually, I might have to wait a little bit, but I'm gonna wait because someone asked me the question before of, dog keeps having the accident on the mat. How come? You know, I let him out, go to the bathroom, bring him back in. 10 minutes later, has a bath. It goes. I catch him going to the bathroom on the mat. And I said, well, if you're paying that good of attention, get him outside more often, and you'll avoid those problems. You'll avoid those accidents. So she's sniffing. Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up! Come on! Hurry up! Now I'm anticipating we may have a little bit of a struggle getting her in too, because she's already eaten. So she's not as excited to come in as she once was. So you guys might see the circus again. There, very good. Good girl. That's a good girl. Come on, let's go. Now I know it's really hard for you guys to see this. I'm just gonna get her excited. I'm gonna try to race her back to the house like I did earlier. Come on. If she gets out too far, I will give her a little traction. Come on. No. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. And now is where I have to pick up my excitement a little bit. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. She's really distracted out here. So I picked her up this time. I'm gonna start reeling her in. I don't want to have to carry her all the way in. I'm gonna get her close, and I'm gonna get her into a little race, a little foot race to get her back to the house. Come on, 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 that's a good girl, very good. She gets up here, and now a lot of praise. Good girl. Very good, very good, very good. So I probably just saved myself an accident because she woke up a little sooner than normal. Now we'll let her settle back down. So you get to see it a little bit different to our normal routine. So Austin, that was kind of started out with your question about settling them in. Joe Van Haren was in. Thanks for watching. Was the reason you recommend us not doing retrieves just to work on other things? His recall is the better retrieving, but nothing but praise. Okay, so Mike Schulte got a question for me. Was the reason you recommend us not doing retrieves just to work on other things? His recall is the better retrieving with nothing but praise than coming in from outside with food. So I think your question is, you had said something about he's retrieving really well, and I don't know if you asked this in front of everyone else or not. Might have just been in a message to me, but your question is, earlier I think Mike asked me about some of his stuff, and he was retrieving really good, but he wasn't recalling, and he wasn't doing some of the other stuff. So he said, you know, what do I think it was something like, what should I do? I said stop retrieving, because I said don't. If you're a weightlifter and you've got a big upper body, don't work on bench. Work on where you are weak. If you got a lower body issue, go work on legs. So what I meant by it, Mike, was retrieving is not recall. Okay, so all you're doing by retrieving is potentially burning out a puppy. So you saw after I did this 3, 4, 5 times, all of a sudden I had a puppy that kind of got burnt out and was checking out. I don't want to see you do that, Mike. So you do it enough, you do it long enough, you're going to burn that puppy out. So there's no reason. I call them meaningless retrieves. You're not gaining anything by doing a retrieve well over and over and over again. You're getting nowhere. So, but recall is where your struggles are. So work on recall. Focus on recall. Work on sits. Work on the other stuff. Work on settling down in your arms. That was some of the spots that your dog was struggling. Doing retrieve work isn't going to help any of that stuff, and it potentially is going to go backwards with retrieving. So that was what I meant by that. Can I start working on retrieving even if we are still working on getting Max to go to the food bowl? Yeah, absolutely, Kaylee. You need to get a little more enthusiasm going for the food bowl, that's all. But can you work on retrieving? For sure. I would get the dog. You're gonna have to get some excitement in your voice. So that's it's interesting because if any of you guys watched tonight, this is one thing that I picked up on and wanted to talk about was if you watched us with Ellie, Sierra and I went out and worked Ellie, and I worked Ellie off lead all night, and I thought she did all right. I give her a 7 out of 10, but she did all right. So I worked her off lead. I never put a leash on her, and she healed very well. I don't think she got out of position, but maybe 2 or 3 times. It was a step or two, and I corrected her, and she got back in. Then I gave the leash at the very end, put her on a lead, and I gave her to Sierra. Sierra knows how to handle the dog. She's been around dogs for a long time. She knows how to handle the dog. She knows how to walk a dog. So I put the leash on. Sierra healed the dog back home, and and Ellie struggled greatly. Couldn't make a turn. Their turns were really bad. Their footwork was off. They did not connect at all. And what I thought was really interesting is Sierra knows how to train a dog. Sierra knows how to handle a dog. But if you watch that video, you'll see how not good it looked. And you'll see how different it looked from when I was walking with her. And so the only thing that changed, Ellie didn't change. Ellie still knows how to heel the same amount she knew how to heel when I was walking her. The difference was the connection between Sierra and her wasn't there. And so if we had time, and we're going to make a point of showing this, is how do you develop that connection? How do you set it up so that it transfers? That's the problem I have when people send dogs away. That's the problem I have. If I train a dog for someone, which we have clients' dogs, we've got a long list, a waiting list for dogs. So we don't take dogs in. That's not my business. The reason we're doing these Facebook Lives is not to motivate you or inspire you to send your dog to me. It's to allow for you to be able to do it yourself. That's the point. But what I think was interesting was people that think they can just send the dog away and then bring the dog back and it operates the exact same way. Hell, I couldn't do it with my daughter. After working with the dog and literally handing it off to her, the dog slipped. It wasn't that the dog slipped. It was the dog didn't have the connection to feel with her, and she didn't have it with him, and she didn't have it with her. And so that was so apparent to me that the handler is so much important with this equation. It's not just the dog. So Kaylee, your dog, if you run into some issues, I'm gonna really challenge you, Kaylee, personally, to say, where's your tone? Like that, and I'm judging it off of one video that you sent me, so I may be completely off, but that's going to be some of the stuff that we're going to work on, which is why I love these live videos, which is why I love it if you guys are going to share some videos to me, because I think that, to me, is the way we're all going to get better at our handling. Jeremy, in the earlier video outside with your older dog, you were putting your arms out to your side when whistling the dog back. Is this a visual recall? Yes, Jay, 100%. So you'll notice when my little puppies come running up to me, I take my fingers and my hand and I put my fingers kind of like I'm holding on to something, because when they're really little, I am holding on to something, little pieces of kibble, and I put them out to the side and I get down and I welcome them in with open arms, literally. And that's a visual sign for my little puppies to come. That's a welcoming. Those are mannerisms and gestures that my dog can read. Much like if I stood very aggressively, like I was going to punch someone, they can sense that and feel it without me saying a word. It's visual. My dogs sense and feel the same thing. So if you take a very athletic, aggressive stance towards someone in a bar, watch how they react. You don't have to say anything, but just watch how they react. On the opposite end, if you're really casual and really laid back and really comfortable in a public setting or in a situation, watch how people can become comfortable with you. It's all mannerism. It's all body language. So that's part of my body language to this puppy is, come on, I'll welcome you in, come on. That little tone, look at what I got out of her. So if I sat down and I put my arms out and I welcomed this, look at babies. Babies can't talk. But when you get down and you welcome a little baby to come running into your arms, like a toddler or whatever, you get down, you put your arms out, and these little babies come running out with their arms, and they're ready to give you a big hug. Well, that's something that is burnt into that person, that little kid, that's welcoming. So I'm going to be welcoming for the puppies, and I'm going to transfer that to the older dogs. So everything looks the same. No different than when we line them up. Everything looks the same when I lined the dog tonight for the retrieve. that it did tonight when I lined this little puppy up for her food. I'm guilty of leaving antlers and tennis balls out, but not anymore. Pick them up, Lacey. You'll see great improvement. You'll see great value added. Here's one. I mean, think about it this way, guys. There's all kinds of ways that I can explain this. But if you eat steak dinner, this antler has to have value, and the value is not the antler. The value is the retrieve. Birds don't mean shit to my bird dogs. Birds mean retrieves to my bird dog. So the whole idea is program these dogs to understand what equals retrieve, because that's what is driven. That's what's driving them. They're Labrador retrievers. They retrieve. It's what do they get to retrieve. Early on, these guys were retrieving fish out of nets. They were retrieving the actual nets out of the sea. So the idea of breeding for bird dogs, gun dogs, breeding for shed dogs, that's just nonsense. These dogs are bred to retrieve. What we want them to retrieve, what we want them to find with their noses, that's all trained in. 1800, 1700, 1600, 1500, they didn't have drug dogs back then. They didn't have the issue that they had drug dogs. They certainly didn't have bomb dogs in the airport. But when you go around in the airports and you see these drug dogs and bomb dogs, a lot of them look like these dogs. It's because they got great noses, they're real trainable, they're real intelligent. The whole reason I'm training mine is to supplement her antler chewing habit. Let's see, the whole reason I'm training mine is to supplement her antler. So you're saying you're training them to find them so that you can let them chew on them, I think is what we're taking away from that. Antler chews on the market, I have nothing against them, okay? I'm not against them. I'm against them for a shed dog because I think it diminishes the value. The value is not chewing on, well, I shouldn't say that. It depends on what you want. If you want them to just chew on them, then that's fine, but I don't want that. I want dogs to pick them up and bring them back to me. Renee Mullins, we really messed up giving our Emma, year and a half old lab, lots of chew toys. We thought she needed them to occupy her time, and she was little. Sounds like we're going to have to learn how to untrain that. We have just recently started with place training. She is definitely not liking it, not liking being made to stay in one place. Well, okay, a couple things there. So the chew toy thing, that's easy. Take them away. Dog's not going to hold it against you. Just take them away. Just take them away, and I guarantee you, if you go through place training and you have a dog that you have control over and doesn't free range and free roam and look for trouble to get into trouble, if you set your dogs culturally up to not be exposed and have opportunities to make mistakes, you won't have to worry about chewing. So it's a slippery slope. They're all connected. As far as place training goes, yeah, they might not like it because guess what? You're finally being the boss and you're the leader and going, you know what? For a year and a half, you might not have been the leader in every situation. And now you're saying things have changed. I call them puppies till they're 2 years old, so they're certainly trainable at that age. But yes, you'll have habits that you'll have to reverse for sure. But yeah, they might not like it for a little while, but wait till they all of a sudden realize, you know what? This person's not that bad of a leader. That's the great part about dogs is they're programmed to follow. They're pack animals. They'll follow the leader as long as they find one. If they don't find one, they'll become one. They're wired that way. That's evolution. We stayed out a little longer tonight. Went number one and number two. No accidents on the bed tonight. Well done, Taylor. He's sleeping now while I'm watching. Thank you again for what you're doing. Awesome. So there is a success story. Taylor's the one I talked about earlier that had the accidents on the bed. So I challenged Taylor, and I say, Taylor, you had an eagle eye on that pup to catch it having the accidents. Now have the eagle eye and the foresight to say, get the dog outside and change the habit. Change the habit, change the habit, change the habit. If they're bad habits, change them. If they don't have them, form good ones. Scott Webb joined, Brittany Hagen joined. Welcome, guys. Sounds like we're getting there. Thanks for all your time to spend with us on these live feeds. Sarah and Steph, too. Guys, these are the reasons why we do it. These questions, these comments. So keep that coming, and I'll keep doing this. I don't care if our crowd is 4 people. As long as those 4 people are getting something out of it. I'd like to see it be a little bit bigger. Does the raised bed create confinement? Yes. I wouldn't say confinement. It establishes clear perimeter, and it establishes an opportunity for me as a trainer
to be very black and white and have excellent timing. Great trainers have even greater timing. Timing for correction, timing for praise. So when this little pup gets to the edge and steps off, it allows me to, I can't screw that up. Like, she steps off, correct right now. It's not confusing. Where if they're on a flat type of bed, it's very easy. Look at her right now. It's very easy for her as she crowds the edge to maybe have all of a sudden half of her nose is off the mat. And then all of a sudden she moves a little bit and adjusts in her sleep. She doesn't know she's doing what she's doing. She just adjusts a little bit, and now all of a sudden the whole head is off. And then maybe one paw, and then another paw. And then all of a sudden she rolls over and she's off, half on, half off. So at what point do I correct that as a handler? Well, there's no black and white here. She's on it or she's off it. And if she's off it, we correct it. If she's on it, I praise her for it. Give her a little reward. Give her a reward of knowing that that's what we want her to do. So it's not really confining her, because she could jump off if she wants, and she does. They do. When they first start out, they do. Tonight on North American Whitetail, that part that I showed in the very beginning of this video, that's exactly what we were doing as place training. That was a scene out of our DVD. We spend over 10 minutes in a DVD talking about place training, because I've got an 8-week-old puppy that just didn't get it. He just didn't get it. He just didn't get it. He went over and over and over again, and finally I put him on there, and he got it. So that DVD shows you the full process with a puppy for the first time. Chris Kangas, I've noticed a similar issue that my pup doesn't have the same connection on his leash with me, my wife, that he has with me. Looking forward to seeing you work on that. Totally. Chris, have you seen our puppy DVD? Lots of that in there. There are so many drills, so many things that I talk about, because we have to have dogs work well on heel positioning, and it all starts on lead, and then we transfer it off lead. But consistency with everybody. A lot of guys, we've done workshops. We have people come to these workshops, and probably, if I told them coming into it that we're going to do a ton of work on heel, sit, stay, come when I call you, foundational work, a lot of them would probably say, I don't think I need that. That's not the workshop for me. Let me know when you get a little more advanced. That would be the reaction. But most of the same people that would say that prior to coming, after they come, if I don't tell them and they come, I would think that most people leave with the takeaway of, holy crap, I had no idea how weak my foundation was. I had no idea how important this stuff is, and I had no idea how doable it is with a little bit of understanding. So I focus on it, a lot of it. Would you discuss some of the steps you would use to get a pup used to guns so they aren't gun shy? And also the age these steps would be appropriate. So, Tom, good question. I think it's important to desensitize dogs to things all the while. Like, this little puppy has heard some loud banging and clanging, and if she becomes startled, I'm right there to reassure her everything's all right, everything's good. So I don't recommend introducing dogs to gunfire with a gun. I think you have to build up to it. It's incremental. So I think the actual process when we get to that point with a gun, I like to start at a great distance. Just like everything else, incrementally, we grow. We add stuff to it. We add layers in training. We take steps. We go from A to B, B to C. All these different ways that I describe it. But so introducing a dog to gunfire before the guns ever come out, I think there's desensitizing to loud bangs and noises and just everyday stuff, and assuring that those are not negative. Okay, so I don't think guns create as many gun-shy dogs as the 4th of July. I think the 4th of July creates the most gun-shy dogs, because it has nothing to do with guns, has everything to do with, we don't think about dog training on the 4th of July. And when the fireworks come out, we just don't think about that. And all of a sudden, dogs are really in bad positions. So I think it's making sure that the early on introduction to noises and loud things and bangs and potentially startling situations happen under your control. And I think this goes back to training everything. We want to control the situation. That's why I don't take dogs hunting until they're ready. Dogs don't hunt with me till they're over a year old. So they have to have all this stuff practiced first before we take them into the field. Shed hunting is a little different. I can take shed dogs out early without fear of wrecking them. I do have to go with realistic expectations. And when I say that is, don't get frustrated when they run right past the antlers and don't pick them up, because until they get to a certain age and have enough experience and see a lot of things, it won't click. The light bulb won't go on. No different than gun dogs and bird dogs. We have to expose them to a whole bunch of stuff before we successfully bird hunt with them. So introducing them to guns, when it actually comes to me introducing them to guns, I like to use a 410 or a starter pistol. I don't have a starter pistol anymore. I should get another one. I used to have a couple of them, and over the years, I don't have them anymore. But I like a 410. I like it at a distance. I like my son to be on the gun and me to be working with a dog that is already retrieving well. Like, this is an introduction to retrieving. So I'm on one end of the yard and he might be 150 yards away from me on the other end. And I'll be making some retrieves. And I'm probably I'm not nowhere near as formal and strict on it when it comes to steadiness and all that stuff. I'm just having a fun little retrieving session with this dog. I don't want to compromise a lot of steadiness, so don't get me wrong there. But I'm not going to be a sticky, a stickler when it comes to the dotting the I's and crossing T's. I just want to make retrieve and have fun. And I'll have my son, while I'm making some retrieves, I'll have my son crack away at a distance with a 410. And I'll read the dog, and I'll see where the dog reacts. And if the dog doesn't even flinch, perfect. I'll bring my son into 100 yards, and we'll do it again. And I'll maybe do this. I'll have him maybe shoot 2 or 3 times, and I'll gauge the level of distraction that the dog has from it, and I'll gauge if it's negative or not. And if it is, I'm really quick to assure them that there's nothing wrong, and I'll amp up the fun, and my tone of voice will go up, and everything will get exciting. So I'll slowly work that process in over the course of maybe 4 or 5 days until the retrieving is so good and everything is good with it that the gunfire doesn't really affect him. Then I'll maybe have him relatively close to me, and we'll start working with timing, where I can throw some bumpers and my son can fire, timing that, so we're putting 2 and 2 together. Another thing that I think is a nice way of doing things in the summer, if you have anywhere around you that shoots sporting clays or trap, is constant banging. And so take the dog. My dogs enjoy walks. I do too in the summertime. So if you got a place where you can take them, start 2 miles away and work your way towards the trap club. By the time you get to the trap club, you've heard hundreds of shots, and they've slowly, progressively gotten louder and louder and louder. And as long as things go well and the praise is there, and you can throw some fun bumpers, and you can make some retrieves on that walk, and you associate it with nice positive things. So those are a few things. Age-wise, I don't think it's necessary for me to introduce dogs to guns till they're 7, 8 months. I don't need to have them introduced to guns until we're retrieving pretty confidently. So it might be before hold conditioning. Hold conditioning for me is anywhere from 7 to 12 months old. I'd like to have it done by then. I've put it off. If a dog doesn't show me, if the dog delivers pretty nice, I don't rush hold conditioning. I probably should, but I don't. So as long as I've got nice solid retrieving, I don't usually have that. I don't usually feel like I need to get to that point until they're 6+ months old. Thanks for all your time and help. You bet, Renee. I hope that helps, Tom. Stick with the place training, Renee. We'll get better in no time. My 7-week-old made great strides with this. Jeff sent us some pictures. I posted this picture the other day. Jeremy gives great advice. Thanks, Jeff. Nicole Schulte, Renee, we're still on 30 to 40 minutes before settling in at place. Knowing others are going through it definitely helps. Yes. Now, what I think is really nice about this is when you guys get, like, I feel like it's one of those things where you're going up a hill and you don't see the other side, and you go, God damn, how long is this hill? It's pretty big. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Then all of a sudden you get to the top of that hill. When you get to that top of the hill, you look over and you go, yes. And you start going down and you get gaining some speed. So this whole process of the place training, the more consistent you are, and the more you stick to your guns and you don't fold. The problem where it'll get really work itself the opposite direction is if 30, 40 minutes gets to the point where it's just too long for you and you go, you know what? I give up. I quit. We'll do this later. your dog is more likely to fight for 50 minutes next time than he is for 30. So watch back in some of our videos, Renee. I feel like I struggled with this dog, Spry, not so much on place. I feel like we started place really early, and she did really well with it, I would say right from the get-go. I was real lucky. Where she struggled was settling down in my arms more than anything so far. And less than a week ago, I held on to the puppy for 26 minutes in my arms before I set her down to let her eat. And for a lot of people, I think they would have said at about minute number 10, 12, 16, 20, 23, they just said, enough's enough. We'll work on this next time. And it's really a test. And I shouldn't say other people. I wanted to. Hell, I wanted to set her down after 6 minutes. Because the day before, it had taken about 3. So stick with it. Be consistent. I'm telling you, when it happens, god damn, it's going to feel good, Renee. Why is our pup wanting to eat cat poop? We're on a farm with lots of nasty treats out in the yard. How do we get him to stop without the leash at this age, 10 weeks old? Well, I don't know why. A lot of our dogs eat deer poop. I mean, that's the caviar for a shed dog. So I don't know why they do. I imagine it has to do with the taste, the flavor. Brooke, I think what with that, with you having a lot of stuff out there, it's just like I'm not telling you to go pick up all the cat poop, but what I would say is you're gonna have to make an effort to not leave pup unattended, and you're gonna have to work real hard on keeping focus on you, not cat poop or whatever else he's getting into. How do you do that? It's gonna take some work, Brooke, and I'm gonna show you guys. I talked about it last night, and I never got around to making the post. I'm gonna do it here tonight yet before I go to bed. Chris, who owns Fee, who is Spry's twin sister, he had a problem with his dog not recalling, starting to get kind of sloppy on recalling, not coming in. And we talked about it, and we said, how do we fix this? He lives on 40 acres. He lives up in the UP. So lots of places for the dog to roam. We said, how do we fix this? And I said, well, what you got to do is you got to build one of those, you got to scale it. Because the dog is real good in small area, but as soon as it gets out into 40 acres, all hell breaks loose, and the distractions that overcome, and next thing you know, he's not coming in very good. Well, Brooke's got a farm, Brooke's got all sorts of places for the dog to play, and that's awesome. But maybe it's not time for that to take place. So you might have to get creative and go, before I can let dog have a lot of freedom, I have to have a lot of good habits formed where I can be able to avoid some of the potential issues. You don't send your kids off to I don't know, name a place that there's a lot of potential problems. You don't send them to Great America by themselves. You wait when they're real young. You bring them supervision, under supervision. As they get older and they earn some trust and they earn some freedoms, then they might be able to take the car keys, but they can't go to, I'm really struggling for analogies right now, but they can't go drive across the country, but they might be able to go to the grocery store and back. And then when they prove that they can do that well, you might be able to go to the basketball game out of town this week. And you slowly add these freedoms. Well, you might be slowly adding freedoms to pup. And right now, pup might be like, wow, this is great. I can do whatever the hell I want. So that's going to be a process for you, Brooke. She just finished her season as a duck dog and did very well. As far as I've gotten in shed training, we play hide and seek in many locations, and she's doing well, no problems finding and delivering to hand. Do you still feel that her to chew on some of the ones she finds is going to hinder her down the road? 1,000%, Jacob. I won't be convinced otherwise. There's nothing to be gained by it. There's absolutely nothing to be gained by it. There's a lot of risk of taking steps backwards with it. I completely believe that. Cody joined in, Jordan joined in, Megan joined in. Megan got to hear me talk about Chris again. I promise you I'm going to put that up yet. Just trying to gauge if it's worth continuing with shed training. Let's see. Just trying to gauge if it's worth to continue shed training. I don't know why it wouldn't be, Jacob. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it wouldn't be. I think 1,000. I think it sounds like you got a dog that does multiple things: bird hunts and shed hunts. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I look at dogs like athletes, like kids. Kids that play one sport don't typically do very well in the end in that sport. It's been proven that when you've got kids that play all sorts of sports, they become better athletes, and athletes are what have better opportunities to play sports at a different level. So when you do a bunch of different sports, you develop different skill sets that are applicable in the other sports as well. So I think you get so much more out of dogs if you're using them year round for all sorts of stuff. So is it worth continuing to shed train? I won't waver on that either. 100%, no doubt about it. Anybody else got any questions? That's, I think, wrapping it up for tonight. So I've got a couple things I got to answer because I put it off for a few people. That pup's getting probably boring to watch. I'm going to flip this thing around.
Okay, I got a couple things that I got to talk about. One of them is I had a message that someone asked me to explain what I meant by picking the right pup. And the question they had was, I said something about you do your homework before you pick out, you do your homework to pick the litter, not the pup. I talked about it a while back because someone asked a question about picking out the puppy. What's my approach to it? What's the secret? And I said, those are all wives' tales. There is no secret. You shop for the right litter. You do your homework. And he said, what do you mean by doing your homework? I mean finding out the right style of dog that fits what you're going to do with it. So like throws like. So I'm going to look for I want to know what my pup's going to look like. I check out mom and I check out dad. I want to know, gosh, I can't hold it that way. I want to know what they're like. So that's what I mean by homework. I mean checking out and making sure that all the health stuff is there. All the certifications are there. So do your homework by talking with the breeder. Do your homework with coming and seeing mom and dad, watching them work, because I think you're going to get a really good idea of what your pup's going to be like by looking at what my mom and dad are. So that's what I meant by doing my homework. My post-it note. I've been taking notes on all these questions. Heel work. I had 2 people ask about heel work. We tried to show some tonight. I'm going to have to continue to work on getting that better for you guys. Matt Tandy just joined in. Welcome, Matt. Chew Toys is on here because that question's come up a million times. We beat that dead horse tonight. Chew Toys. Retrieves with the sticks. What do you do when they're picking up the sticks? I touched on that earlier. This is the one that's been asked a couple times. Range. They want to know about range, and they're a little bit different questions. But one of the people asked, their dog's range right now is 25 to 35 yards, something like that. They want it to be 40 to 60 yards. So how do I extend the range of my dog? Another person said that their dog works very close to them, and it's a relatively young dog. How do you get them to work out further? They'd like them to work out further. So that's a good question. There's things we can do to get dogs to work out further. Some of our quartering and casting. I think some of it comes with confidence. I think dogs that aren't as confident have a tendency to work closer, or not want to be bold and go out. Here's the answer to the question about range. 25 to 35 yards is what I want. So we might want different things with our range with our dogs. You might want a dog that's a big ranging dog. And I'm not sure what kind of dog you got. I didn't really ask that. That's something I should have asked. Different style dogs have different style hunt. A pointing dog, Matt Tandy, who just joined in, has got GSPs. Pointing dogs have tendency to have bigger range because they point. They get to go. They can range. They can cover a ton of ground, and when they have a bird, they point. They don't flush. So flushing dogs are supposed to work within gun range. If you're going to bird hunt with your dog and shed hunt with your dog, you want your dog working within gun range. I do not want shed dogs to work outside of 30 yards. I can't shoot past that. I don't want them flushing outside of that. So a shed dog and a pheasant dog, quarter and cast, they use their nose, they use their eyes. They flush and make retrieves, or they find and make retrieves. Same damn thing. So skill sets are going to be trained the exact same. The difference is the smell and the shape of the object that gets them the retrieve. So I think this. So I don't want my dogs working out that far. So I don't. I program my dogs when they're little to check back in at a 20-yard distance at the best, because I know they're going to float on me as they get older and more confident, and they might get out to 30. But I want dogs getting out and checking back, getting out and checking back. How do I get them to do that? When they're very little like this dog, and she's probably right on the verge of having to do this. When they're very little like this, they have a tendency to want to stay with me. Take advantage of that when they're little. So when they get out to a certain distance, I'll stop and freeze. Now, their eyesight's not very good, so I won't move. And they'll turn around, and as soon as they recognize that I'm gone, I can see that they panic a little bit. They go, where did he go? As soon as that happens, now that's me reading them. As soon as that happens, I get down and I whistle to them. Come on, come on, come on. Here they come. And I praise them for it. So this little puppy just heard that and reacted. So do it again. Little puppy gets out to a certain range. I stop like a statue. Pup turns around, wonders where I'm at. I go, come on, come on, come on. Here she comes. What I'm doing is I'm getting the puppy in a habit of going out so far, and they're smart. They'll figure out that if they go out so far and they keep checking back, they feel more comfortable. They're not going to lose me. So when they get a little bit bigger, I can be in the woods, and I can stand behind a tree, and I can watch the little puppy panic and go, where did he go? Where did he go? And then they start looking, and as soon as that happens, come out from behind the tree and call them to you. Come on, come on. Starts teaching these dogs to get out and check in, get out and check in, get out and check in. The other thing I can do is at a certain distance, when they're out going away from me, turn and go the opposite direction. Especially if you can't get them to come, turn and go the opposite direction. And when you do that, they don't want to be left behind, and they're coming back to you. So that's how I program them to come back and check in, to come back and check in. The other part is I think they do it pretty natural as long as we feed that, fuel that, and bring it out. So I'm going to challenge you this. If you need a dog that ranges out 60-plus yards, where are you shed hunting? So if you're in a hayfield, cut hayfield, and you want a dog to cover a lot of, well, hell, Stevie Wonder can find sheds in hayfields. They stand out. We don't need dogs when we can see the sheds easily. Where I really need them is in really tight, confined bedding areas. That's where I find a lot of sheds. Most of the time when I'm shed hunting, I would say it's 75% or more of the time that I'm shed hunting. If I'm standing still and I turn around in a radius, I usually can't see the ground. Now this is, if there's a shed laying there, I wouldn't be able to see it if it was 25 yards away from me in the woods. It's hard to see them. There's a lot of stuff. Your dog's got a good nose, and your dog covers a lot of ground. But I guarantee you, your dog doesn't cover 60 yards worth of range between you and 60 yards out. No dog does. Their noses are good. They're not that good. So what I want is, if you figure 25 to 30 yards of range, and you're standing here and just envision yourself on a grid work here, and you're going down this grid work 25 yards one way, 25 yards the other way. If your dog is 20 working 20, you're covering 50-yard range, which is a lot bigger than you walking with your eyes, obviously. But that, to me, is a pretty good swath for a dog to work through cover. So think about that before you decide you want dogs working out too far, because once they get out too far, it's very hard to get them to work back in. I'd much rather have them work in and slowly maybe build confidence to let them work out a little bit further. So I hope that helps for the ranging question. I'll go back and listen to you chewing on sticks and stuff outside. I think you missed that. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Greg. We focused on some retrieving stuff tonight because this little puppy made her first retrieves. So if that's it for right now, boy, it was a good night, guys. I thought from the dog's perspective, it went very well. I felt way better prepared for it. So we're going to continue tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the third time in a new location. You guys know my rule, 5 times before we move. So tomorrow, I expect it to get better. This morning was entertaining. Tomorrow shouldn't be as circus-like. So you guys have a great night. Don't hesitate. Please continue to share some of those successes, because I love seeing the dogs on place. I love seeing the dogs steadying up. This to me will help and add another element to it, because now I can really talk specifically to you and your dog. I feel like this is kind of a process. A lot of you guys probably had to listen to me for a couple days before you decided whether or not you're going to listen going forward. There's a judgment period. So you had to decide if you believed in what I was telling you, and I think hopefully we're getting to that point with some of you. Now we're getting a comfort level where I'm hoping that some of you, and I've seen it now, after that little stint, then all of a sudden the questions started coming. And then I've gotten to know a lot of people through email and text, even text messages and these messages. So now we're to that little point. And now all of a sudden we're trickling in with some videos and some pictures. And I feel like as the trust grows between you and me, it's going to just become way more effective, because now me seeing Kaylee's dog tonight, Robin sent me, Jeff Trudell has sent me. I gotta look here quick. There's Lacey. I bet you I've gotten, between emails and messages, I've gotten 10 or more pictures of people showing me their dog doing some of this stuff. And the beauty of it is now I can take it to another level, because now I can go, Kaylee, great job with this. This is where you need to work. This is what you need to change. Now it's very specific to each of you. So by doing it live, we have the opportunity. So thanks again, guys. I will talk with you tomorrow, I'm sure. If not once, maybe more. So, and I'll try to brainstorm a little bit on how we get those older dogs involved with it, because I know some of you have older dogs, and that would be really valuable, I think. So I just got to figure out how to do it from a connection standpoint. So talk with you guys later. Have a great night.